My name is Melissa Demirci. I'm one of the associate engineers, and I am emceeing and presenting the traffic items.
Jana Robbins with the West Covina Traffic Engineering Department.
Michael Ackerman, City Engineer.
Corporal Adam Steichner, West Covina Police Traffic.
Lieutenant Keith Freeman, the West Covina PD, in charge of traffic and Sunday patrol.
And we also have
And
Paulina.
then Paulina Morales, and the Assistant City Manager.
And then,
Brian Cervantes with the City Engineers Division.
So with that, I'll go ahead and go to item 2 on the agenda, which is just a recap of the traffic committee items that were approved at the last meeting in April. And they were all unanimously approved and will be going to City Council for final approval, where later on it will be scheduled for installation, which was improvements along Pacific Avenue between Cameron Avenue and Puente, as well as Ridgewood Drive between Nanette and Amar, and a red curb review near 1828 Cortez Street. And this will be going to City Council in either the first or second meeting in June, and later on scheduled for installation. I'm going to go ahead and move to item 3, which is new traffic committee items, and we're going to start with item A. So I'll go ahead and introduce and talk about this item. This was a request that came in from the combination of West Covina Police Department as well as city residents to evaluate the pickup drop-off area by Trelweek Middle School to really increase the visibility of pedestrians as well as drivers. As part of this review, staff looked at the entire circulation around the school. We conducted 5.5 years of available collision data, ADT, which is average daily traffic counts, a 24-hour speed survey, a peak hour count, as well as field observations. And we do have an existing conditions diagram where we actually marked where the signages are. A little bit about the streets surrounding the area. Roland Avenue is an east-west minor. It's 89 feet wide. It does have a posted speed limit of 40 miles per hour, but near the middle school, it drops down to 25 miles per hour while school is in session. It does have 2 lanes in each direction, divided by a raised median with double yellow lines. And there is also, at the intersection of Roland Avenue and Neal, there's an uncontrolled flashing pedestrian crosswalk that runs north-south at the intersection. There is parking allowed on both sides of the street, except during street sweeping and where the curb's marked red. Armel Drive is a north-south arterial, 39 feet in width. It has a prima facie speed of 25 miles per hour. Parking is allowed on both sides of the street as well. And Phillips Avenue is a 40 feet width street. It does have a prima facie speed of 25 miles per hour. Parking is also allowed on both sides of the street. There are some posted bus loading only zones along this corridor as well. Pioneer Drive is 31 feet in width, has a prima facie speed of 25 miles per hour. Parking is allowed on both sides of the street as well. And Neal Street is approximately 30 feet in width and has a speed limit of 25 miles per hour. And Trelweek Middle School, just some information about the school. It has approximately 860 students in grades 6 through 8, and they start at 8 a.m. and their end time is usually at 2:47. These were really the times that we looked at during the drop-off pickup times, and we do have some field photos that we took as well. Some recap of the average daily traffic. We did conduct counts in early December while school was in session, and there was a total of approximately 700 vehicles per day on Phillips Avenue between Roland and Puente, and we did average daily traffic on Roland Avenue, which is a little bit more of a larger street, and that was done in September 2021 while school was in session, and the total was about 7,800 vehicles per day traveling along the corridor of Roland between Azusa and Lark Ellen. We also conducted a speed survey to evaluate, is there really speeding happening? And the way speed surveys are conducted is it's an unmarked vehicle, and during off-peak times with a radar gun, we're actually collecting data of how fast cars are going.
this one we did. On this one, because we wanted to know speeds before, after, all times during the day, we did do a 24-hour speed survey. So that uses tubes, and they mark how fast every car is in a 24-hour period. So we can get a real view of what's going on after school hours as well as during school hours.
Thank you, Gianna. And what we found is the posted speed limit on Phillips Avenue is really what we evaluated was 25 miles per hour, and the 85th percentile was 31 miles per hour. So it does show the speed radar that there are vehicles traveling slightly higher than the posted speed limit, and we took that information into consideration. We also did the same thing on Roland Avenue, where the posted speed limit is 40 miles per hour, and the speed survey, the 85th percentile was 45 miles per hour, which also shows that there are vehicles traveling higher than the posted speed limit. And during our evaluation, we did take that into consideration for our recommendations. We also did a collision history. We used, it's called SWITRS, Statewide Integrated Traffic Record System, where any accident that's been reported to a police department or sheriff's department is eventually put into this system, and it's publicly accessible. And obviously, it's only collecting accidents that have been reported. So if there are unreported accidents, there's really no way for us to know that. And so we collected those informations as well, and we put it into a collision diagram to really see what are the collisions going around. Are there collisions going around in the school? We also did pedestrian counts as well as turning movement counts to see how many students and pedestrians are actually using the crosswalks, crossing the street. We did an observation during the drop-off pickup times to see what were the queuing of the vehicles, how were they maneuvering in and out, as well as the combination with the pedestrians themselves. And we did a very detailed pedestrian count. For example, at Roland and Neal, we did a total of approximately 81 pedestrians were crossing that intersection on Wednesday during a typical school day. And then from there, one of the requests that we wanted to make sure to evaluate was if there should be an always stop installation. So a lot of people have a conception that putting a stop sign might actually control speed, and that's a misconception because we can't just put a stop sign anywhere. We follow guidelines per CVC and CAMUTCD, which is the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, and we did evaluate certain areas to see if it meets stop sign installation, and it did not.
That's Phillips at Pioneer.
Yes, is what we evaluated at. And based on this, and I'm gonna go, it's a pretty comprehensive recommendations list. And I will summarize because a lot of it is similar to each other. We did a whole upgrade of the existing signage, made sure if there was any missing signage or faded signage, we upgraded it to larger signages. We added more school signages where it may be missing. We removed confusing signages that maybe are not per the code or regulated, and we replaced them with signages that is allowed, and really just did an upgrade around the school. And larger signage, more visible signage, and there's a part 2 to this as well as we improved the existing uncontrolled crosswalk that goes directly into the school itself to add more pedestrian safety, and this includes, again, upgraded signage, larger signage, and more aware. And it's really that neon green sign that really catches your eye, that it's a school. And with that is our recommendations. We also have the backup data of the counts collected, and I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to additional comments from our traffic committee members.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out is that we are adding 2 yellow crosswalks. One is at Roland and Phillips, right opposite school. So when the kids are walking across, they'll have the yellow crosswalk, because we did know that Phillips is where a lot of parents are picking up their students. So we want to make sure they're staying behind the crosswalk when students are crossing, so we're going to add the yellow crosswalk. And then in addition, Roland, if they're not paying attention, we're adding the sign of turning vehicles, the right yield to pedestrians, as an added visual that, hey, there's peds here, don't turn in front of them, don't cut them off, wait till they cross. So that sign, and then we're also adding a new yellow ladder crosswalk at Neal, Neal and Roland.
Which is right here.
Which is, right there, you see number 14. Right, and then the other one, the actual unprotected or uncontrolled crossing at Neal has the signage. We're just, like Melissa said, we're updating to the new standards with the neon green for the advanced signage. At that location is the flashing sign, so we're not removing any of that. There were the state law number 16 you'll see up there, the little state law yield to ped sign they kind of put that in the middle. It's one of those small plaques, you've seen them. They were crushed or looked like someone ran them over. They're supposed to pop back up, but after a few times they don't pop up. So we're adding a few new ones so they'll stand out. And just, I know a comment from previous came in about Armel, that Armel Drive on the one side is the city of Covina. So we can only look at items within our own city. So you'll see on the diagram, we have the city boundary. So most of our improvements are within the city of West Covina. And then also what we're adding as, because Phillips is a main street for the students, parents to pick them up, is Pioneer, Danes, and Eckerman do not have the stop bar, or stop. They're just open, so it was noticed that when cars were waiting for their kids or after they picked them up, they were just kind of swerving into Phillips waiting, but we want them to make sure they stand back, so if kids are walking on that street, they have a place to stop behind, so we're adding the stop sign with the stop legend and the stop bar. So we're adding, it's mainly signage and striping updates. Are there any comments?
No?
Yeah, one of the things that we did get from the school was they wanted a crosswalk across Phillips and Pioneer and or an always stop. But in our observations when we went out during the drop-off and pick-up, basically these are junior high kids. There would be no one there guiding them to use the one crosswalk. So they're pretty much just running across Phillips to get in their parents' car. So at this time, the Pioneer at Phillips did not meet typical warrants, we call them, for our guidelines, so we're not recommending that. But we are recommending updated signage. Okay, any discussions?
Any other comments? Traffic committee? I'll
Is
go
there
ahead.
anyone on this item?
There is, yeah, we have speaker cards that you should have filled out. If there's anybody, I don't see anyone for this item. If there is anybody on this item. All right. So I guess we'll move to approve the recommendations as shown on the screen and discussed, which would mean that this would go to City Council. The Traffic Committee is a recommendation body where they don't actually make the final decision. This later goes to City Council where they approve it and then it's scheduled for installation. So with that, all in favor to recommend the recommendations for item 3A, traffic circulation for Trelweek Middle School?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so this item will go before City Council for final approval and consideration and then later on scheduled for installation. The second item, I'm going to move on now to 3B, which is a traffic review on Jennifer Place and Eclipse Way between Belinda Avenue and past Covina Road. And this came about, a resident requested us to evaluate the speeding concerns along this corridor. And as part of the review, we did do an existing roadway field conditions. We looked at accident collision history. We conducted 24-hour ADT counts as well as an output from a 24-hour speed survey. And here you can see an existing conditions exhibit of where the signage is along this corridor. A little bit about Jennifer Place. It has a speed limit of 25 miles per hour. It is a narrow street, 36 feet in width, with one lane in each direction, no marked center line. Jennifer Place transitions into Eclipse Way, and it actually has raised pavement markers, RPM, separating opposing travel at the curve. And also Jennifer Place has an existing right-left curve signage post in advance, and you can see it's listed. It looks small on the screen, but it's right at the center of that curve of what I'm referring to. Parking is allowed on both sides, except during street sweeping days and where the curb is marked red. Eclipse Way, which it continues, has also a speed limit of 25 miles per hour, and it still continues in that approximately 36 feet in width. And same characteristics of Jennifer Place. Also, parking is allowed on both sides of the street. Pass and Covina Road is north-south arterial. It's a major collector road. It's 40 feet wide with one lane in each direction. It does have a double yellow center line. Parking is allowed on both sides except during street sweeping days. And we have some existing conditions, field pictures as well that we took. A little bit more about some of the collisions that took. We did do a full collision investigation. Again, we used SWITRs, which is any reported accident, and we went back all the way to 2017 to available data today, and there were 4 collisions that took place in this. And sometimes, you know, it's where people's perception of speeding or what might be happening isn't what's reported in the data. And we did do a collision map to see where those collisions were concentrated in. We also did ADT, and we found that it's very minimal vehicles traveling, approximately 250 vehicles per day along the corridor. We also did a 24-hour speed survey. Again, the posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour, and we calculated the 85th percentile to be 31 miles per hour between Eclipse Way, Pass Road, and then 30 miles per hour between Dorr Street and Jennifer Place, which does show there are some speeding along the corridor. We looked at various traffic calming strategies. So traffic calming is a term we use to how can we slow down the speed of the vehicles. And usually it's we want to be cost effective and impactful. Signage, oversized signage, police enforcement. There's different strategies that we can apply, and a combination of those can really have a big benefit once installed. And based on this, we are recommending the following items. The police department is aware of this, and you know they're adding it to their list for monitoring, as well as adding some speed signages. We noticed that there aren't speed signs along the corridor, so we are recommending to install speed signs, as well as newer speed curve signs of 50 miles per hour. And I'm going to open it up to Jana to add anything that she'd like.
Yeah, this one, when we did the 24-hour speed survey, it was the 85th percentile, which means 85% of the vehicles were traveling 30 miles per hour or less. They might get a few random high speeders, but for in this case, and then we only had 270 vehicles per day. So we did, like Melissa said, for this one, they do have some pretty nice, pretty severe curves. So we're adding the 15 mile per hour sign underneath the curve sign, and adding the curve signs that are existing were pretty faded, so we're adding the new neon. They're kind of brighter yellow, so they'll stand out. And then as well as the 25 speed limit sign, we're putting in the pavement legends, so in case something goes across or a parked car blocks a speed limit sign, they also see it on the pavement. So hopefully that'll reinforce that this is a 25 mile per hour zone, and we'll see how that works. Any other comments?
What was the condition of the existing raised pavement markers? Were they all there?
Yeah, they were all there. So
Okay.
normally also when the city has their pavement management program, when things are going to be repaved, they will put in whatever was there existing. So we'll have to check also when this one will be repaved on the plan. So, but for now, they were all there. They weren't missing. Sometimes we notice that they're missing or really faded, run over, but this time they were there, so.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I'll open it up to audience member comments. I do see here that there are a few cards that say, is that correct for this item? Would you like to share your comment, sir, and your
Yes.
name?
My name is Joe Gardner. I live at 1021 Eclipse Way, and I was the one that originally initiated this complaint about the speed on the street. And I appreciate the work the city has done to go out there and survey the street. I think obviously the signs are going to be important to put up. it's a pass-through for people coming from Belinda to go to Pass and Covina and next road. But my concern is we have a lot of shuttle buses, cargo box trucks, and other large vehicles, even the fire department at times. We use that to get to the fire station up at Azusa. And so the large vehicles and their inability to stop in an emergency like that, I've seen them traveling at least 40, maybe 50 miles an hour up that street. And so my concern is for my neighbors, for my family. We try to back out. It could be a real issue. I'm surprised that your findings didn't reveal, greater speeds, but they are there. Usually around 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, we get the shuttle buses for disabled people that come there, and usually late afternoon, we have commercial vehicles, cargo box vehicles doing that. I also had another concern. My neighbors would probably want to weigh in on this issue, and I'm glad I got a notification, but that was yesterday. So my hopes is that any improvements would be shared with the community for the people on that street. I don't have any problem distributing a form letter or something regarding your findings to my neighbors, because they share the same concerns about the speed on the street. And I think it would be important for them to at least be able to weigh in on your findings and, at least hear what's going on. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Now, is the trucks, the larger trucks, are they like FedEx or Amazon, or what size trucks? Just delivery trucks, or are they
Yeah,
five-axle,
Semi,
huge,
like
you know?
semis?
No, FedEx type, Amazon trucks, UPS trucks.
Okay, delivery.
As well as some small commercial business. There's one guy that has a party supply store that thinks he has to get home at a great urgency, so he's always speaking on the street, and that's usually in the afternoon. And Lieutenant, would be grateful if you, periodically, at random times, send somebody to do radar enforcement. They could use my driveway. So, thank you.
We
Okay,
appreciate
well,
it.
maybe we can set up the speed trailer on this, if that's available.
Yeah, we could set it up.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take license plates or anything, but maybe the speed trailer a couple days here and there, it will remind these people of what the speed limit is. And hopefully when, we get the signs placed again, I mean, people have to obey the signs. We can put 100 signs, but if they don't want to, so we'll monitor that. And if you notice something like we can't really prevent the delivery trucks, but we can prevent the 5-axle trucks. But if it's just deliveries, hopefully the reminder of what the speed limit is, that they'll start, being more cognizant of what that is. And if
That
they
would
do
go a
some
long way.
spot,
We would be pretty grateful for that.
right, spot enforcement, and we'll try to get the speed trailer out and, as a reminder.
Can you write down your name and number for me?
Sure.
We'll reach out.
She has a card.
I do, yeah.
Thank
I
you.
can see it.
So
All
we'll
right,
share
we'll share
your
that.
info. And I think we also have your email, right?
Right.
Okay.
And is there any other comments for this item as well? Well, we appreciate you sharing your concerns, sir. With that, I'll go ahead and go to a vote. So again, this is to approve the recommendations of signage, as well as the speed trailer that the police department will deploy on Jennifer Place and Eclipse Way between Belinda and Pass and Covina Road. All in favor, say aye.
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 All who oppose? All right, so this item will go before city council for final approval, but I believe that the speed trailer can go, since they're in charge of the police department, they'll be able to deploy that before council approves it, hopefully. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to item 3. And before we start with item 3, this is the traffic review on Cherrywood Street and Garvey Avenue. And we really want this to be a very positive discussion. You know, we want to really hear from the residents, what their concerns are, and really be able to let you know what we can and can't do per what's allowed in California. And sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions of certain speed humps or stop signs can control speed, but a lot of the data shows that maybe there's something else that's more effective. And one thing before I open to keep in mind is a lot of the times in traffic when we make recommendations, we really start with more of the easier items in terms of let's start with signage, oversized signage, some striping. Let's see if this makes an impact, and we reevaluate. And if we say, okay, there's still an issue going on, then we move up to more bigger items, because obviously cost is important and the cost benefit is important too when making these recommendations. So I wanted to share that with you, and with that, we'll go ahead and share. I wanted to first recap. Back in January, we took this item as a result of a request that came in for reported speeding, and we did a very similar analysis as that we had shared in the previous 2 reports, and we looked at, you know, the speeds, radar, collision, etc. And based on the data and the discussion we had at that time, we had recommended a variety, this is the existing conditions, and I think the next slide is the conditions. Oh, we had recommended a variety of very specific upgrades to the location. And it's it's kind of a sharp turn. And so part of those recommendations was to repaint the faded, you know, stop bar, stop legend, new stop signs, adding the all-way plaque underneath so vehicles know, and the flashing, oh yeah, and the flashing stop sign as well as upgrading the signage. So this is kind of a phase 1 that will go before City Council for approval and installation. That doesn't mean that we can't do more items, but we just want to share that we like to see how it works once it's installed and then evaluate. But we really we appreciate everyone here today, and we would love to hear from each of you of your concerns and ideas that you may have. So I'm going to go ahead and I don't know.
Let's do this.
Oh, the speed hump, yes. Before we do that, we also want to share, a lot of people, when we get requests for speeding, they think speed hump is a cure-all for everything, but there are very strict parameters of where speed humps can safely be installed and what is effective. So Janet can kind of go over a little bit about
Yeah,
the
the
speed
city
hump.
of West Covina, is this?
Yeah, the speed hump
Well, I
policy.
can't see it, my glasses are too far. Has a speed hump policy. So normally, the speed humps, I'm just gonna list what is the guidelines for the city of West Covina, and it's pretty much the guidelines for every city. So it has to be on a local street, not designated as an arterial or collector. A residential, mainly abutting residential development. Minimum length, 1,200 feet, maximum average daily traffic, 3,000 vehicles per day, minimum average 500 vehicles per day, maximum posted speed limit 25 miles per hour, minimum critical speed, which is the 85th percentile, more than 35 miles per hour, so it's showing that there is a speed issue. Nothing on a horizontal curve, maximum grade 8%, which is going uphill. So there's different things, minimum diversion. So in certain cases, Garvey and Cherrywood does not meet the requirements for speed hump installation. Because Garvey and Cherrywood are both considered collector streets, so it's not a local street. It does meet, it's mainly residential, so it meets that part. It meets how long the segment is. It meets, Garvey has 2,080 T, so it's under the limit for that. But then we have the maximum speed limit, says 25, which is the guidelines, but both streets are posted and was adopted by the city for 35 miles per hour. So, and then the other ones we're okay with. So mostly when you do speed hump policy, if it meets the first wave of criteria, then you have to have a petition, which is signed by all the residents, because basically the guy whose house the speed hump is in front of is gonna hear that thump thump all night. Thump 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 thump, So they have to agree to have the speed hump in front of their house. So the city requires 75% of the homes along that street to agree to having potentially the speed hump in front of their house. Then there's the review, and it goes to traffic committee and ultimately to council. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We did receive a bunch of emails for speed humps. But because Garvey is 35 and we're approaching a deep curve, speed humps, you have to think about it. What would speed humps do for a car? I know the resident that lives on the corner. The issue is cars are not stopping on the curve and they're landing in the guy's front yard. So we are cognizant of that. So if we had a speed hump, if they hit a speed hump,
At 35.
maybe at 35, obviously they're not slowing down for the curve, because we have flashing 15-mile-an-hour signs there. So they're not looking at that anyway, so they're not slowing down. But if they hit a speed bump right at that curve, it potentially, I'm not saying it would, potentially launch the car. So we have to be cognizant of that. So now we're at the point where, what can we do besides that? What, let's have a discussion and think of how we can, in my mind, we have to help slow down the traffic before it gets to the curve. So it's 35. Now, what are items that we can use to potentially slow the speed down before they even get to the curve? So that's kind of where we're at. We'd like to hear feedback. And I know it's a big concern, especially for the people that the cars are wrecking their brick wall and everything. So we're up for listening, and at this point, it's mainly a discussion. We can't make any decisions right now, but we can take your comments in and review them, and hopefully we can we'll bring it back to Traffic Commission as a phase 2 and say, hey, this may be the best option we can do. And then that's kind of where we're at. And then you have PD and city engineer here to also field comments and questions, and so I
Yeah.
think we'll open it
So
up and
I'll go
hear.
ahead and I'll start reading names. I think the first name, Sandra.
Yes.
Yes, Sandra. Is this for this item or a different
Yes.
item? Okay, yeah. Hi, Sandra.
Okay, I know what you said about speed bump, because my mom lives in Hacienda Heights. Out of so many years, they finally decided to put speed bump, but it's the mile, the way you said it, the mile and all that. I was thinking, why don't you guys do an island, like you guys did when you came in through Azusa? So when you come in through Azusa, there's a little island. Before there was no island, it was just a stop sign or a
Which shows
little
on the other.
sign, and they knocked it down so many times. So that little island, it did help, and it's been helping a lot, because now, it slows them down to go that way. So I was thinking, okay, like you said, about it won't do, how about on a little island? Because you're talking 2 cars, when they go so fast, one of the days they're gonna hit each other, because they go really fast and all that. So I was thinking on island. I don't know, because on the other side, you guys did put an island, because the same thing. The city came, the sign went out. The trucks comes in, they knock down there. So finally, when you guys did the island, it helped. And I think it helped that neighbor also, because it was so, you have an accident, you end up hitting their house too.
Yeah, so if we look at the proposed exhibit, I think it's showing some raised pavement markers, the yellow ones being placed on the center line. But it looks like it's only at the center of the curve. I wonder if we did the yellow raised pavement markers from begin curb return to end curb return, so that it encompasses the entire curve, if people would see that sooner. And then also, if we're going, is it north?
Yeah, it's on
North
this
on
one.
Cherrywood, I don't know if, it might be overkill, but to put the white raised pavement markers on the outside to show the lane being smaller, may have a traffic calming effect. So you may want to wait on the white ones, but I would definitely recommend the yellow ones for the entire curve.
Yeah, to extend it.
Yeah.
Well, I think on here, if we look, I gave you each a 11 by 17. I think this may be yours, I don't know. But on the Garvey, at the other curve part, there is a raised island. That's, I believe, what you're talking about, yeah. Where it, see down here,
Mhm.
down here, there is a raised island.
Oh, yeah, why don't you?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
So looking at a phased approach, we get raised pavement markers
Garvey
is
and
something we can do immediately, whereas a median island is more of something that has to be planned and be incorporated into a CIP project, which could take longer to get implemented.
Yeah, I was also, I had seen the PCH uses them. They have like, they're kind of like, they're called channelizers that are about, waist high. And they, if someone hits them, they bounce back.
Yeah,
So,
plastic
you know,
delineators.
Yeah, delineators that we
Mhm.
could put, because what Mike is saying is that, we have a need now. But the median island is a possibility, it's just, it's much more costly.
It's
So then-
James and Cherrywood.
James at Cherrywood, yeah. So it would take longer to install. So if we're looking at things that can happen now, then, yeah, that's the raised median.
See, that one was, it's good, and it has been done,
That's the item.
yeah, the little island I'm talking about.
Because the cars had gone over the pavement actually into the grass area right there in the corner. And the ones that we've seen, we've been there like 6 years, and we see 2 cars go onto the grass, not making that curve. So now that they put the island right there, everybody tends to slow down.
Have you seen anyone go over the island?
No, the only one trucks.
Just
Only the
trucks, huh?
When they close the freeway on the weekends,
Oh.
and basically whatever that's going on, they go through there.
Yeah,
Well,
it's very narrow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
narrow,
is narrow, yeah.
but it has stopped a lot of traffic, slowing down the cars.
And
Okay.
it's something that we can evaluate. I think cost is a big factor. The cost benefit is a big factor in a lot of the
But
decisions.
sweetheart, we pay so much taxes.
Well, it's time to implement
We all pay a lot of
too.
taxes for our city, so it gotta come out somewhere.
Let me ask you this, it looks like there's yellow raised pavement markers along the outside of the medians.
Yes.
When you're driving at night, do those reflect back up? Can you see those at night?
It doesn't, once your headlights hit it, it's.
Yeah, that's the
it's not-
intent, it's supposed to
it
be,
doesn't- You should have a reflector, yellow reflector, you can see it
Yeah.
really far over.
probably the ones straight on reflect better, so that's why I wanted to get the pavement markers all the way around the curve.
Yeah, but the little pole, that little sign
You
is.
can do that strip, the strip,
Yeah.
reflective strip.
Yeah.
You know what they have for the poles on the medians now is retroreflective tape that you can place on the pole, so it kind of lights up the pole and the sign to let you know it's there.
Yeah, hopefully within the next couple months, we have a lot of traffic items that we're going to be installed in the city. So, yeah, and it started, so hopefully you'll start to see some of those. But this one, back to here.
Also, too, we noticed that, there's been a lot of, the police, watching the stop sign there. And I've seen those guys busy every night, somebody passes through that.
That James,
stop sign.
at
Yeah.
James. Well,
It's
we're
every night.
we approved, well, at least it went through us, approved for flashing stop signs. So the solar with the flashing lights, it still has to be final approval of council, but it went through here. So that's kind of like our phase 1. So, okay, so we got the islands and we'll
Okay.
write that.
I did island, yellow tape, retroflective tape, and the dots. I'm gonna go to, is that all for you? Thank you so much for your input. The next is Ben. Yeah,
Yes, my name is Ben Fonseca. I actually live on Garvey, so I live on 1526 East Garvey, just west of that corner, that median. So I get all the speeders through my house, I'm there trying to exit sometimes out of my driveway, I don't see cars, all of a sudden I back up, there's one right on my tail, So with the wall there, these cars without exhaust systems, they go by flying and, all that, so noise, rebounds out into my house, middle of the night, cars will stop by there, peel out, take off, just, I've been there, it's going on 9 years. And, the same, I know you guys put some signs for flashing beam, this and that, but, it's still going on, still, just a speed, too much speed in there. I mean, I don't see what else you can actually put that's actually gonna physically stop people. I mean, you can put all the signs or whatever, but I mean, it's not gonna matter, They're still gonna be, go by there pretty fast. I'm coming home sometimes, going into my driveway, the cars are right on me, I put my signal on the stove, So I'm not sure, and it's only me and the neighbor, so it's like, I'm kinda like the lone rake in the whole street.
Are you on,
I'm actually on Garvey.
yeah, you're up on, by the
Yeah, a
freeway
little bit more,
side, yeah,
so-
okay.
So yeah, like I said, just me and the neighbor, all the rest of the houses is their backyard, so like I said, I get all these speeders, morning, day, night, see, they're there quite a bit. I do see, officers posted at the stop sign, but, unfortunately, that's just for there, then they just
Yeah,
turn the
the
corner and
curve.
they take off, it's like a dragster pretty much, So to me, I'm not sure, I'm sure a couple lights here and there might stop some people, but overall, without those humps, I don't see how else we can stop the vehicle, Like she had said, my president involved parking, they recently in their residence, they just put some speed humps and, it slows it down. I go visit and, it stops them like a lot, so it does help. But I do see, other stuff you're saying. You said what kind of street is that? You were
It's a
saying?
collector street.
Which is what?
Every street has like a hierarchy. It goes local, which is like residential, then it goes collector, which is like connects to bigger streets. And then it goes arterial, then main, principal arterials, so like Azusa and Citrus, they're bigger streets.
Is it because not too many residents or what is it?
Well, it's mainly on what the streets were designed to carry. And, like Azusa is a truck route.
Oh, yeah.
So it has, that's where you want to funnel most of your traffic on the main streets, keeping them off of the local streets. So they have normally collector streets, local streets dump onto a collector street to get to the bigger streets. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Yeah,
You get a lot of-
And then it has, Caltrans also labels all the streets, and the city gets certain money for different types of streets. So, in order to classify Garvey as a local, it has to have like so many houses that have driveways per quarter mile. So unfortunately, but Garvey, it has that brick wall, so you're probably one of the few that has a driveway on Garvey, right? There's like 3 or 4 houses that have a driveway. Yeah, so then we couldn't reclassify it as a local street. So now we're kind of left with items of how can we lower the speed? What can we do to get them to travel lower speed before they get to the curve? Where's the issue?
And it's almost like a little quarter-mile straightaway, and that's what
Yeah,
they
I
use
know.
it for.
Yeah.
It's a quarter mile to get on there, and you can hear them revving up there and just peeling out every night.
Yeah, I see that, so.
That's what they're using it for, a little.
Well, we did look at the collisions and there weren't a lot, but, the ones that happened were, into somebody's, whoever, their yard, so it's not
No,
good.
that was our.
Your yard?
I just don't know if I can speak, so I don't want to speak now, because I know you're getting everybody at a time.
Okay.
But I got a lot to say.
Okay.
Maybe you're Albert?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Alberto Choa. I live on 108 South Cherrywood Street, 23-year resident of West Covina. At the start of the intersection on Lark Allen Avenue and South Garvey going eastbound, it's posted at 35 miles per hour. So I want to revisit that because as time goes by, maybe we need to check the speed limit. Maybe we need to reduce the speed limit. Right now on Garvey, South Cherrywood Street going southbound is posted 35 miles per hour. From the intersection to the south corner, now you're traveling northbound, it's posted 30 miles per hour. Same distance, So I'm not sure if anybody noticed that, but let's take a look
I
at
know,
that.
yeah.
I don't know why it's 35 one side and the other side's 30. When I did the petition at the neighborhood to see how they felt about the street, everybody said, just like Ben, Mr. Fonseca, Sandra, Victor, everybody's saying that they can't even pull out of the driveways, or they're pulling into the driveway and they're telling them. So that means two things, they're going too fast on that corner turn, they're right on their butt because they're not stopping at the intersection. We are having traffic enforcement, I appreciate that, they're out there, we have the trailer right now out there, it's helping out. But right now the trailer's posted at 25, the speed limit is 35. I think it only makes sense that we lower that speed limit to 25. Okay, we talk about speed humps. Speed hump is a great way of doing it, but if it's not the way to do it now, then let's look at another alternative to it. The center median that Sandra said, I've been there 23 years. On the south corner on Cherrywood, going into Garvey, you don't need no police officer to enforce that. It does it on its own. On my area, you need, I don't wanna be calling West Covina every time to say, I need some enforcement. You guys have higher crime area that needs to be taken care of. I think that's where it should be used. I actually feel bad calling every time and say, you know what, they're speeding over here on there. But guess what, they're ending up on my house. They're gonna kill one of us, my family, my kids. I don't wanna get into a situation where I'm trying to prevent it right now. Again, I've been there 23 years. I have submitted to West Covina, Brian, I haven't met you, but I talked to her on the phone, so nice to see you. But I submitted a picture of accident that happened on our 4 houses. Rios, he lives on 102. I'm on 108. Duarte, he didn't show up, I don't see him here. But anyways, it's the 4 houses. My neighbor Rosa Minera, she got sick, she was gonna come too, but she ended up getting sick. But anyways, if you turn that sharp turn on East Garden, it's a 90-degree corner turn. Okay, if you're not slowing down to the 15 mile per hour supposed to speed limit, you're not gonna do it. And you ain't gonna end up on my property, my vehicle, my neighbor's property, and just like you talked about, a car's gonna launch, guess what? They launched already into the house. My house, my neighbor's house, they're doing that already. So it's something that's going on already. It's not new, and it's gotta go away. We gotta do something to fix this. Because I couldn't wait till this COVID go over, I'll be honest with you. When this COVID was on, I wanted to come, but everything was shut down. Once it went over, I came on October 19th to City Council because everything was opening up, and the first fear I had was the kids Halloween, they're gonna do trick or treat. They have no idea what that corner turn is right there. I know because I lived there for 23 years, me and my wife. It scared me, and I went to the City Council to let them know the situation, how scary it is, and we need to do something about it. And guess what? They ended up crashing into my property, which is my neighbor Rios and our property, they hit that brick wall. If it wasn't for that brick wall there, they would end up at our house. My daughter, the next day, she had no clue what happened. She parks in our driveway, we're thinking we're safe there. She has my 2 grandkids right there, getting off the car. My wife's explaining to her, so we're not even safe. This is why the center median that Sandra asked about, I think that's the best thing. If we can't do speed humps, at least the center median. Because that center median is gonna stop them from crashing into our property. I know it's cost-wise. I hate to go into a bottom injury or a fatality. How much is the cost-wise gonna be at the end on that? I don't wanna go there. I don't know what to do, but at the end of the day, things gotta change. We can't have West Covina police patrolling all the time there. They just can't. They're not gonna be able to. Right now, the radar machines out there, it helps. But again, you can't have them because it's just reality. What are we gonna do? We need to do something different. There's different situations. I even brought the picture of the center median. This is on the south corner. This is, I think, the best thing that they did on the south corner. We need that on the north corner. It's just signage, and signage is good. We have stop signs. We can put reflector signs on there. I love it. It's great. It's gonna help out. But are West Covina gonna be there to patrol that area all the time? No. Reality, you can't. That's reality. When they're there, beautiful. It helps. They enforce it. They slow down. The issue we have right now, mostly our accidents happen on the evening, at nights, weekends. And you guys are short-handed, I know. I've been talking to your police department, and reality, I can't get the safety that we need at the moment right now. I know you're there patrolling, you're helping us out, which we love it, we appreciate that. But at the end of the day, that's not gonna help out, but we're not gonna help them there all the time. Once they leave, it continues. We can't continue this path. So, again, I started a petition 2022 to make our streets safe. We need that. And I don't know what else to do, but again, all the signage you're doing, we appreciate that, but that itself is not gonna do it. Police department itself not gonna do it. We gotta hit this multiple tasks, use all the tools we can to stop this.
We really appreciate you sharing that with us.
There is some tools that we can look at, we can go back and discuss with, you know, unfortunately, speed limits are set, state guidelines, you know, follow that. So we can't arbitrarily change a speed limit because it's already as an ordinance. The city council approved it in 2017. So it's not coming up for 10 years. But maybe we can look at somehow, because my feeling is that maybe we need to reduce the speed on Garvey. I mean, I know signs, you can put 100 signs out if someone's ignoring them, you know, they're gonna travel what they want. But if potentially we can see if this street would be, we could classify this as a safety zone, and that maybe we can get the speed lower to 25 and then go from there with 25, you know, just from the, because of the curves, and there is the other curve right as it leaves Lark Ellen. So there's more ideas that maybe we can bring forth that would stand. We would have to, of course, take it to council to see if they would put it in their ordinance that this section could be 25. So there's a process in order to change any speed limit, because like I said, it follows the CVC as well as the traffic manuals and stuff. So, so it's an idea, so it's something we can look at, and then, I mean, we're taking your comments and medians, and we'll get with the engineering and see what we can do for that. I'm thinking potentially, you know, in the meantime, when this first phase goes in, maybe, you know, we could extend the, like he said, the yellow RPMs so that it's more aware at night, or even get those little channelizers in the center line that bounce back, you know?
Delineator idea better.
At,
Because with the kids, if they see those channelizers, they're not gonna wanna drive their car
Yeah,
through the
PCH.
channelizers,
We have an
right?
example.
And
I wrote
they
it
make them
down.
more aware if we have them around
I
the
have that
entire
example.
curve. And this would be like a temporary measure until we could, you know,
Yeah, until
evaluate the
we get
median
the
and put it in an
median,
actual capital improvement project. Something
Yeah.
we could get out there right away.
On Pacific Coast Highway, and I was like,
Do you
they
have it?
actually have, did we have it in here?
On Google,
Oh, it's. oh my God, what's the street?
PCH, I looked it up.
They have channelizers, basically, you can drive over them and they
Pop
they
back.
pop back.
They're the same ones on the toll
But-
roads.
It is
Yeah,
a
it's in the
good
center.
tool interim
Interim tool, yeah. What is
to,
it? Oh,
to
here it is.
install, oh,
At PCH at Coral
Yes.
Canyon Road.
So
Can you
it-
call that
yeah.
up, Brian?
Pacific Coast Highway and Coral, Corral, Canyon Road.
Canyon Road.
I don't know if you can see, he'll pull it up, but,
It's something like that, just as a temporary interim measure until, like Mike said, we're gonna have to, if we do
Evaluate.
go with a median, it's gonna have to be a CIP project, so
Yeah.
it may take a little longer to
From
get
design to
approved.
installation, CIP can be 2 years.
Yeah, so, but I think I'm hearing that we need something now, so if we can do something
Yeah.
like, see these? This is on PCH. And they light up at night, and these are designed, you can see one got hit, but this, they have other, this is
Types.
just one type, but they
Yeah,
have
you could put 'em
types that,
closer
yeah,
together too.
yeah.
that, if someone runs them over at 45 later, hopefully they don't, but if they do, they pop back up, they can be hit 50 times or whatever, and they're more inexpensive to put out there
And
as an
easier to
interim.
get, yeah.
They're anchored into the street, so it'd have to be in the middle, you know, where the yellow is on that one curve, as an interim measure, you know,
Yeah,
so.
There's glue down ones
I
too.
think we
but
could
it's just
probably,
off. You have to go glue them down.
make a motion to do that.
Yeah.
Like the dots.
I mean, if this is something that residents are happy with, maybe we can make a motion and add that to our phase one.
Something we do right
Instead
away.
of
You
the-
know,
We need something now.
Because
Instead of
phase
the-
one is gonna be
That would help
approved,
us out.
Yeah, we're gonna
for
take it
council.
in June,
Yeah.
so
Maybe
not for
this-
installation though, for
This is
approval.
just another tool, but I mean, it helps out, because cars are going over, what's gonna happen, I can see it, and I'll be honest with you, that I got cameras, I install cameras on my
right,
home. When I see them, that's how I know the potential there, they're coming over. At the intersection, they're not stopping. Some of
No,
them are
they're not
stopping.
slowing.
So the vehicle coming out on Jeans, whoever it is in that area, coming out, they're gonna collide right there. That's another one's gonna happen, because I see it, it's just a close call, they honk at each other like, hey, it's my turn to turn. You come to the right of way, you gotta stop. If you come on the right side first, you should be able to go, that's the law. Well, guess what, this car on Cherrywood just keeps going, so this guy honks at him, what? Sooner or later, somebody's gonna collide there.
Well, I'm thinking if, you know, if it's something that people would approve, is you could start them from here, but leave gaps so that you guys can get
Correct,
out
get
of
out
your
here.
houses, but at least maybe if it's like up here, then people will start saying, hey, something's coming up.
Yes.
At least they'll say, are they doing construction, or what are they doing? I mean, they would have to be yellow, and,
And you talking about putting it in the middle?
yes, on the middle island.
On the actual stripe.
On the
The
stripe.
stripe.
They would follow the stripe, see the stripe?
Some people make them.
Just, yeah,
go
just
down.
kinda
Yeah.
all the way, you know, down to even to here.
Yes.
And we would have to leave, you know, gaps that you guys could cross over, but
Yeah, I
it may
like
be a
that.
good interim.
Take a look at it as phase one.
Yeah. Do you
Until
see
they need to do something.
how they have the white line on the right?
Yes.
Kinda skinnies the lane width,
Yes,
right? Maybe we need that on Garvey too,
yeah.
'cause that's a
Well, there
wide lane
is
and the
some,
wider the lane.
there is on here. It's not, I think there is the.
Oh, is there one
There
there?
is, at least when you did street view.
Well, there's still
You can go up
there.
and Google.
Is not
Yeah.
there? Okay,
So the
We could do
skinnier
the
the
side
lane appears, the slower people are
You're right.
theoretically supposed to drive. And
Well,
then
just-
if we did the white raised pavement markers on there too, when people hit those, you hear it. It's just like running over box
Oh,
stops,
so
right? It
yeah,
goes boom,
all
boom,
right.
boom. Once you start getting out of that lane,
So
so
it's
that'd
not-
protect,
it's on the
parked
other side,
cars,
okay.
bicyclists more.
Right.
That's something we could do as well.
see, these are things we can do in the interim, while ultimately, if we can do the median, because the median's gonna have to look at drainage,
There's a-
engineering has to do their whole thing, you know? But at least for the interim, in the meantime, we can maybe piggyback off of phase one and add some of these lower cost items and see what it does, you know, hopefully it, you know, people are kinda, you know, they come upon these cones that they're like, oh, something's going on, that they'll slow down, recognize there's the flasher, you know, speed curve,
So,
yes.
Question, speed survey, so did they do a speed survey in our street?
They
Yes.
did.
Yes, and where did we end up on that one, or what's the result?
It was on Garden, right?
On Garvey, yes. It's, oh, that's a different one. Here it is, okay. I have it. So they just showed speeding. So they did a 24-hour one on December 7th, and the 85th was 43. So they are speeding, so it shows us that we need to somehow bring
Lower
the
the
speed
speed.
down. And that was on the top part of Garvey, we didn't do it in the curve. We did do a hand survey in the curve, and that showed that people were slowing down, but I mean, you know,
Yeah, that was,
those are the people that made the curve, you know? So,
Yeah, so again, they totaled my son's car, the neighbor's car, I mean, that's what's happening, they're totaling our cars. And the last one, that accident, I went to city council, ended up running into the brick wall. If it wasn't the brick wall that slowed that vehicle, he would end up on our house. And I'm the one who live on 108, and that's why we're here, we're trying to prevent this from happening. The other question I have is, again, the speed limit right now is posted 35 on East Garvey Avenue South. We have the trailer posted at 25. When we had that accident, I talked to several police departments that were there on 326, the day of the accident, on March 26, 22. They even said the speed limit is too fast. They agree with us, they travel in that area. Can we reduce that to 25 miles per hour?
that's what
We're
I
gonna
was
look at it.
discussing. We'll have to look at it to see if Garvey would qualify as a safety zone street. Because like I said, I have the, you know, the speed survey that was adopted by council, so it's possibility,
Yes.
and it should be. It's just there's a process that we have to go through to get it changed.
Yeah.
Because right now, if you're traveling from Lark Allen, right when you make the turn, it's posted at 35. I mean, I think if we remove that and put it 35 just before Ben's house, Fonseca, I mean, at least gives them a, okay, sure, it's not 35, it is 25, slow down, because just up ahead, you gotta make 50-mile-per-hour turn. And if you're going over 35 already, you're not gonna make that.
No.
turn. And That's the
that-
problem we're having right now.
Right, no, we see that, so we see there's an issue. That's what we need to address, so.
So the other one again, it was on Cherrywood.
Okay.
We have two different speed limits. Is there a reason, can we check to see that, because the neighbors
It's-
asked for a speed hump on that area?
Yeah, it's
We have-
35,
It's 35?
35, yeah,
Okay.
so the
I'm not
30
sure
should
if
be
I'm allowed to-
removed,
Am I
yeah.
allowed to get up and show
Yeah,
you?
yeah, of
I just
course.
don't know what the rules
Yeah,
are
I
here.
see here.
We want this to be
So-
positive.
So 35 miles per hour is right here on Cherrywood. If you're traveling southbound,
You
it's
can get this
35.
up. Yeah.
But if you're going northbound,
Yeah, I see
it's
it.
25.
We
It's
have
30.
it.
I think we're
Yeah.
showing it here
We-
too.
we show it.
Yeah, so we are-
35 is a little discrepancy
Same
there.
distance, though, shouldn't that be the same?
It should,
I mean,
and
I'm
it
not
should,
sure why we have two
unfortunately, it's
different-
35, so we'll
Yeah,
have to
that's
have
the
that
problem.
removed.
If we change it,
But-
we're gonna make it faster.
We'll maybe
Yeah.
remove it.
We'll just remove it.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, whatever we can do to slow it down,
Yeah.
it just,
You're gonna remove the 30?
We have to, because it's posted,
It's
by
supposed to be
ordinance, it's
35.
35. So,
Yeah.
we can't leave if we see it, we have to make it to ordinance. The ordinance is 35, so,
I'm thinking 1630, maybe go down to 30 instead of 35. Maybe
well, that's
go
what I
down.
said, like I said, speed limits by law has a certain process.
Mhm.
So, and it's by law because they're able to give tickets.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
that's why we have to make it to whatever the city adopted, and that's the engineering and traffic survey for 2017. So, we have to follow this. So, if it's posted incorrectly, we need to we'll remove it and it'll just show the 35. I mean, it should be like 15 for the turn, which I see we do have one.
Yes.
So I don't know why the 30 is there.
Yeah, 'cause
So,
if
yeah.
anybody were, I'm not sure you guys tested it, but again, if you test it from that corner turn and you go to 30 or 35, there's no way, it's too
Yeah.
fast. Safe speed is 25. If you go 30, it's too fast. So again, safe speed from one into the other, I tested both sides, before you hit the corner turn or before you hit the intersection, it's actually 25. It shouldn't be 35, it's too fast.
Oh, yeah. No, it should, the curve is 15.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
So,
in the middle,
yeah,
turn
in the
with
middle,
James,
right.
It's too fast. If you drive from the south corner turn to the intersection on James, try going 35, anybody go in that area, and
Yeah.
it's too fast.
No,
It's not the
that
proper
sign
speed.
should also be removed.
And part of the phase one will make sure that these are updated.
Yeah. Because that 35 going southbound, right south of James should be removed, just because we don't want them going 35, as you say.
Because once you hit that
So,
turn,
yes.
it's 15 miles per hour.
Yeah, it's, you can't speed up, slow down, so no. We want them to be the 15, so,
You know, that's interesting. If you remove the regulatory ones and you just have the advisory ones saying 15.
15,
Yeah.
yes.
Letting everybody know to slow down.
That it's-
So at
That
least,
makes more sense.
right, yes, that makes more sense. So we need to remove the 30 for northbound and the southbound 35 that's out there.
Is,
And then,
sorry, is Cherrywood not considered a residential street?
no, it's considered a collector.
So South Garvey and Cherrywood are both collectors?
Yes. Mhm. Yeah. So then we would only have the 35s at the,
Lark Ellen.
yeah, Lark Ellen.
I wonder,
I mean, there's another one here.
I wonder if that could be, well, that is exiting out. I wonder if you could
Yeah.
remove that one.
You could remove that one too, it's just,
We're gonna evaluate this as part of the recommendations to council in the phase one. Yeah. Yep,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the other question I have, I know the other day was asking to have the West Covina radar,
Trailer.
trailer. How many do we have? Do we have one only? or
We have
one?
one.
One only?
Yeah.
We have that one on Garvey right now, so, yeah, I guess it's gonna be tight for everybody who's having issues.
I know.
And
Yeah.
we're
I
gonna be
appreciate
moving
what
that
we have
one
out
to
there right now.
Eclipse, so.
Yeah,
It's been out there since last week, so
Mm.
anything what we can do, so I appreciate that, thank you for that.
just to give you a heads up though, we're gonna end up moving it
Yeah.
pretty soon over to that Eclipse address.
Yeah. We've been attempting to acquire another one, the ones that get attached to the streetlight poles, so we can move them wherever we need them, wherever we have complaints.
Or they
There's
can.
permanent ones, there's also solar powered
Yeah,
ones, you
solar
can just
powered.
strap on, you can leave for a couple of weeks or a
And then
month, you can take to
relocate.
another high traffic spot, and then you can bring it back, you know, if people start speeding again, you bring it right back.
Can that be part of phase one?
Can
You
that
can
one?
propose it, it's all about the
Right.
money, I think they're like $10,000 each.
But if, what I'm hypothetically for phase one, we could, put that where the speed trailer, around where the speed trailer was.
We can make that recommendation.
So, do you want me to list? Should we go through all the comments first?
Is that, yeah,
We have
let's
more.
go
Let's go
through
through all
all
the
the
comments,
residents
and then
and then
we
we'll
can
come
recap.
back
I have a
and.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you wanna propose something, if you wanna buy something, we could get together and go to the council, other meetings.
We're gonna recommend to council.
Yeah, if you wanna show up.
Yeah.
Who's the commission right now? Who's the board meeting, the mayor right now here? Who's
In
the
this
mayor
meeting,
for
for
Covina?
for West Covina,
Yeah,
Dario
West Covina.
Castellanos is the mayor.
Okay. And who's the city council,
So it's Dario Castellanos is the mayor, Rosario Diaz is mayor pro tem, and then we have,
who's the treasurer?
treasurer is, Colleen Rosati.
I'll make some phone calls to,
Yeah, you're more than
Yeah.
welcome to reach out, but as Melissa was mentioning, this is the proper process to get your comments and your feedback on this issue heard and included. You can go to council by all means, but the process is through here.
oh yeah, I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
how the process works, I work in the
But-
school district, so.
Yeah.
What we plan to do is, on Monday, we're gonna submit a staff report that is collective of several months of traffic committee items, and one of those items will be this. And based after we go over the discussions in a phase one that's feasible, we will list those and maybe make some adjustments of some of the additions and removals of the signs. And that'll go, I believe, at the first meeting in June. And then it'll have to, and we can maybe prioritize certain items and
So
go
that's
from
when
there.
you go to
June
the
se-
council, to that one,
To that
and
one.
ask them to prioritize.
Yes,
Yeah,
Now,
she can
like
speak to
the,
it, too.
yeah, the median one, we can't put that in phase one because it needs engineering
to see,
to see the drainage and all that. We can put some of these small, the signage or the pavement
Yeah.
stuff, the channelizers, that we could roll it into phase one. So,
yeah.
So the other one I wanted to ask is, when can we schedule some traffic enforcement at nights and the weekends? I know it's hard, but if we can squeeze us on nights and weekends, they're doing it on days right now, which is awesome. But the actions we've been having are mostly at night, in the evening, and on the weekends is when it gets pretty rough out there. So, again, we don't have to be prioritized number one, but we appreciate if we can get a schedule out there, put us down, and hopefully we can get some traffic enforcement on the weekend.
Yeah, so,
I know
we
you're
don't-
shorthanded, I've been hearing that, but,
We don't have a schedule
okay.
that we can put on for nights. At nighttime, all of our specialized units are not working, so it
yeah.
solely would fall on the responsibility of patrol. So, I've spoken to you on the phone at least twice and kind
It's
of
more.
explained how calls get prioritized and whatnot. A patrol officer's first responsibility is calls for service. Those calls for service come in, they get categorized 1 through 3. 1 being the highest priority, meaning violence is occurring, or it's about to occur, or there's a high likelihood that it's going to occur. So those calls are always gonna take precedence. And then 2 would be less than that, where somebody it'd be dealing with somebody's having a mental health issue out in the field that could end up getting injured. They might not necessarily injure somebody, so on and so forth. Down to a priority 3, which would be like extra patrols. So if you're leaving for the weekend and you want us to drive by your house and just check it, once or twice a night, those would be like extra patrols. Or you get a lot of complaints for whatever through parks, graffiti areas, those are all extra patrol stuff. So something like this, traffic enforcement would fall into priority 3 call. Okay? So officers get to it as they have free time. So that's amongst writing reports that they give for the night, taking people to jail, and primarily, like I said, answering calls for service. So as far as the schedule, we put you on the extra patrol list and put what it's for, and then we try and require officers when they're out there in your specific area. They put it out on the radio, which then it goes into our CAD system, and we log. We can go back and say, oh, we assigned a couple officers that went out there during this time period, but just keep in mind, they could be out there and immediately get a call and they have to leave. So nighttime is very difficult for us. There is other things that we can do, like put together a directed patrol where we bring people in on overtime, but now we're getting into some serious budget issues, with overtime and whatnot, how many people do we call in and things like that. And that's like a one-time type thing to do that, which helps. But again, as soon as we leave, you know what's gonna happen. It's gonna pick right back up. So what I have on my patrol crew after that time I talked to you, I was on nights at the time. I had them driving through as much as possible. I encouraged them to sit out in front of your house, actually, because it's all camered up, and write their reports if they could, to do things like that, because sometimes we don't have time to do enforcement, but we can have officers park there, write their reports, especially if you guys we don't normally park in people's driveway, but we're open to helping. So if you're open to have them, letting them park in your driveway, they can sit there, write their reports, and not have time necessarily to pull people over, but.
I'm open, so if you guys want to use my driveway, you're more than
Yeah.
welcome to just let me know, and I'll move my vehicles out of the way.
And-
Mine's good on Garvey, because they don't have hedges, so they can't even see you guys, the cars passing by, so there's hedges all around there.
Yeah.
So I might have an Garvey, because there's nowhere else we could hide, obviously, because it's all open.
Yeah, one of the other things we talked about is doing what we refer to it as a dummy car. It's just one of our top cars,
Okay.
stripped down, parked. We don't typically like to park it in fairly secluded areas like that, because there's other people that like to do stuff to our cars when nobody's around. But I have mentioned that you have a house that's equipped with cameras,
Yes.
so if we can kind of keep it out there, and then after the response today, I can almost guarantee you guys could help us out by just keeping an eye on it. If we park something out there, because our cars are expensive, we don't like bad things to happen to them. So there's little things like that where we might not be out there, but when people see a cop car, it tends to slow them down, because they have no idea if somebody's in it or not. So little things like that. So maybe we can't do the extra patrol or get out there and do the enforcement, especially on weekends,
Yes.
which is our busiest time, but,
Now, is that because you're still shorthanded at the moment, or
Well,
is that the way business is
so,
going forward at the moment? I don't know.
so how do I put this? So we used to be 126 officers. We're allotted 100 now. Now, that's not all patrol. That includes myself all the way up to the chief. So we only have so many bodies that are on patrol, handling patrol. Our traffic division, yes, I've been here since 2006, so, we used to have 7 motor officers. We have 2 now, one of which is Corporal Seichner that's sitting next to me. And yeah, what people don't see is that he also has to handle all of the fatal collision investigations, which is the same thing as running a homicide investigation, because essentially that's what it is or could be. He's got to do all the e-citations, which is all of our tickets are all electronic now, so he's got to go on and approve them, kick them back to officers when they don't have appropriate codes, things like that, so on and so forth. So we're challenged. The city is doing their best to help us and get us bodies. So are we what we used to be? No, but we're trying to do the best we can, and I don't personally like to fall behind the excuse that we're shorthanded, but we're doing the best we can, and we're getting officers, which is fairly difficult for other departments at this point in time. So, are we gonna get back to 126? I have no idea. That's not something that I know anything about, really. That'll depend on budgets, and, it's not like our city's any different than anything else. All agencies across the US are down bodies for a multitude of reasons. So, for us, we hear your complaint, we're gonna do the best we can to address it, and I know we have been. Like I said, I've spoken to you a couple times on the phone, got you the radar car, we'll get you some dummy cars that are out there, and then, I know our motors, both of them have been out there enforcing traffic. It has not been on Garvey, it's primarily been at James and Cherrywood. We can maybe separate them and start running some LiDAR, which is laser as opposed to radar, and kind of go from there. But, you know, that's where it's important, where those speed signs is, you know, as much as we'd like to say, no, keep the 30-mile-per-hour one, you can't, because then it ties our hands for enforcement. It has to be accurate. So when we start writing those tickets for speeding, when we go to court, we have to, they could ask for the speed survey on the streets, and we have to we as law enforcement have to present them in court. So it has to be specific, which helps us with the enforcement and whatnot. So we'll expand it to Garvey.
Kind of going off that, the prima facie speed, the 85th percentile, that's what determines the speed limits. So we can't just, correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't just change the speed limit to 25. They have to do the surveys, and they take the 85th percentile, and then they have to get the closest number to that, correct?
Yeah.
So even if the prima facie is 25 miles an hour, that doesn't mean the 85th percentile. The 85th percentile could be, I think it was like 43, right? So technically speaking, it would be
Lucky we didn't increase it.
45 miles an hour speed limit prima facie, but that's not going to solve the problem for speeding. So like my lieutenant was saying, is that we could enforce everything we can, but if the prima facie is, we can't go off of that. So it's difficult for us to enforce. There are other things that we could try to enforce for, like the stop signs, and us being present on the traffic stops on that street, I'm sure can kind of help people slow down a little bit, but enforcing speed on that's going to be pretty difficult for us to do.
So on the radar machine, why do we have 25 right now? The speed is posted at 35. Shouldn't it be 35 so everybody knows it's 35?
The reality is, we just don't switch out the sign.
Yeah, it's pretty much always the same.
It's-
There's only a set amount of signs that we have, like I think one's 40 miles an hour, one's 25. So we don't have like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, yeah.
And then
So
that
it
thing
better
bounces
be low.
around so much,
Right.
so,
Be better it's lower than,
Yes.
because I mean, it's not taking license plates, it's just saying your speed.
It's alerting the driver.
It's just alerting, so if they're coming into a curve, then they should be going less than that anyway, but.
Okay.
we
Appreciate
like
it.
to fool them for you.
Yeah, well, that was good.
We appreciate it. I think we have one more item here.
A person, you mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna read the address instead, 102?
Frederica.
Okay.
I'm with Albert, so yeah, we recently got, fortunately an accident. And it was just concerning because it was Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock, and I was actually at the park because we had a family thing going, and Albert, called me and was like, hey, and it's not typically when you call me, like, we just had an accident, and I said, everybody cool? He's like, yeah, so somebody hit our wall. And, it was just, again, concerning because I have, 4 boys, 2, 8, 9, and we really can't let them play in front because cars are speeding, and I know we have surveys, and, unfortunately, a lot of people think I'm not an engineer, but I see them speeding there every day, and we just appreciate, obviously, you guys taking it up, and we just wanted to voice, obviously, our concern because, unfortunately, and now I'm kicking myself, my car has gotten hit 3 times, and I've only reported it once. But to be honest, going forward now, I'm going to report it every single time because you're saying that it's based on data. So hopefully, we're not trying to get more accidents, but, that's where we have to go. But, yeah, we're just, concerned because the speed is a factor. And, like Albert says, unfortunately, we would hate to have, God forbid, a fatality, but, we're just trying to slow the people down. But, again, it is a concern. The other day, Ms. Diaz, we met with her a couple weeks ago. A couple of us were there, and sure enough, when we were there, you just hear some dude in his Mustang revving again, obviously, the center meeting would be awesome. Obviously, we're not, I guess, eligible for humps. But honestly, there's only like 3 houses, and literally when you turn the curve, there's like an electrical box that you can put one right there, and you can still put one between his house, because there's only 2 houses and another one there, and you're still gonna, it's that little, just that strip right there that when they're going, like when they turn in front of my house, they just see a straight shot straight away. And same thing when you're coming in from Mark Allen, and you turn that curve, it's a straight shot, and it's directly when you're going east towards my house. And like I said, not too long ago too, I had to put lights, my own lights, like literally facing the street, and I know Albert had told me that, hey, that's good. I even told him, I'm even considering getting like red and blue reflectors, because honestly, I don't know what else to do, you know what I mean? Because it's concerning at all times. At 4 in the morning, you hear this dude, he doesn't even go, just turns the curve and straight shot. 4:30, I've heard him already. I leave at 5, so. And again, it's just, you know, we're just hoping we can slow these people down. And we appreciate the patrols, of course, you know, that definitely helps deteriorate. And obviously the signage, but obviously you said yourself, you can put 100 signs, and those chevrons are there, and they're nice. And for when they tag on them, you know, obviously that's what it probably what they do more effective with. But we just want to slow the garbage down.
Yeah, I think the channelizers down the center line are gonna help a lot.
Yeah.
People don't like hitting things,
Yeah.
so.
So, yeah, we really appreciate it. Is there any other comments for this item? And we'll kind of, I'm gonna summarize, and then we'll go to a vote.
Yeah.
Again, we really appreciate everyone. We wanted this to be a very positive dialogue, and this is why we really value residents coming in, and we really thank you. So to recap, on the already approved Cherrywood from January, which is up here, we're going to make an adjustment. And at the June city council meeting, we're going to submit this for recommendation. The adjustment is we're gonna be adding, instead of the RPMs, it's gonna be the center yellow channelizers that we had shown, as well as remove conflicting signage, the speed limit signs, and also the portable speed feedback sign that we
You can maybe have that as phase 2, because since those are so expensive, we may wanna get all the channelizers, striping, and signage
That's
out
true.
right away, and then as we get the money, cause I think you want 2, right? So you want 1 for each direction.
And then we can put that as part of a CIP project.
Yeah, and then phase 3 or part of phase 2 could be medians evaluation.
And then also part of it will be to evaluate those additional items. The safety zone, evaluating the speed limit, evaluating potentially a median and other phases as part of it. And now the police department is really on board and aware of the situation as well.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe taking the white right lane line just around Garvey, so it's not so wide on Garvey before that curve, and then have it taper. Right?
If you want-
to narrow the,
Look up 102 on your Google Maps.
And then with the channelizers or the raised pavement markers,
that right
all the way
there.
around
That
the
channel will
curve.
make a big
Yes,
difference.
all the way.
All the way.
Yep,
Is there parking on Garvey or no parking?
parking. On the south side.
On the south side.
South side.
Okay.
It's 19.
So the white lane
foot
line would
wide.
delineate that lane as being
Yeah.
skinnier, and then you could even put the white raised pavement markers on too. I'm not sure if they do.
Kind of align both sides.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do the yellow raised pavement markers with
The north side.
channelizers. If you oversign stuff, then it's
all
almost,
on the south side.
you go sign blind. So we wanna make sure we follow CAMUTCD recommendations.
So we'll do per CMUTCD, but definitely the channelizers, and removal of the conflicting speed limit signages, as well as evaluating for phase 2. So in addition to what has already been approved. And we will take this to June 7th, is the meeting? Yeah, we will take this to the June 7th meeting. And I believe all of you, we have your emails, and so,
Yeah, if you leave your email at the sign-in, then we can inform you when the item comes up, so you can go. Put your voices in so that it can have priority, at least for the phase 1 is priority to get it constructed.
we really appreciate it.
Okay, on this item then, we have the other.
Oh,
item?
yeah, the other item.
Oh, let's vote.
Oh, let's vote. So
Okay, we need a
motion, so
vote,
we're
sorry.
again, recap, we're doing channelizers, as well as removal of the conflicting speed limit signs, and then the evaluation for the additional items.
Excellent,
All
so
in favor?
moved.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all right.
Okay. All right.
And then with that, I'm gonna go on in the agenda. We have audience comments on items not on the agenda. I know there are a few people here for parking, I believe, and as well as the church. Same item, okay. So I have 3 names here. I'll start with Danny for parking issues on Molinder, sorry. Yeah.
Cross street is, more than 1,300 block. We have parking, like the net signs, the resident was paying. On that street, the reason they gave us that is because we used to have cars parked from, other neighbors over the night from different cities. So that's a little bit of an issue. Now we have to take the reality, the church, they come, they're the, Wednesdays, Fridays, yes, Fridays and Sundays. They take all the parking, they even park on our block in Florence, it's very hard to see that every time. And they're very loud, they have no consideration for the residents who live around it, very loud. Especially when it was COVID. Especially when it was COVID, and that church is not funded, it's not what's Covina. They take a lot of parking, and they come to our street on Florence.
Now, you're in Florence.
Yes.
There's Francisquito?
Yes, Francisquito's the.
Okay.
Oh, I see. Florence is a little cul-de-sac off of Mullender. Okay, so they're parking down,
Francisquito. So there, when it was COVID, the noise was so loud that they had it outside, and it disturbed all the residents who live around there. It's too loud. So they had no consideration. Some people have to wake up, work, like nights, sleep during the day, they're not. And it doesn't just start in the morning, it lasts all the way to the night, at least 10, 11 sometimes. So lately, thanks to the law enforcement, they've been doing their job, but we hate to call them all the time, because they're always parked there. So last week, they did have people watching them, the law enforcement was watching them, nobody was parked there for those days. But before that, weeks, all of a sudden they had permits to park there. And I even called out, spoke with the officer very nice, and he said they had permits. So last week, as I said, they came, nobody was parked there, so those permits must have been not legit, because nobody was parked there. So my thing is, those signs are there for a reason, because we don't want people parking there. Because the people were parking there overnight, and they didn't look at, they would come and bring their, their truck full of gardening, like trees and stuff. So it was nice, after they put signs, it was nice and clean. And now, so another issue we're having is on the Florence, when we're leaving Florence now, during Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays, we have to be careful, because on the corners, all the cars are parked there, and it makes it very, not safe for us to leave that. We have to look both ways and be careful in case there's oncoming traffic, so we won't get in an accident, because they park now on the corners. So we're hoping we could get red on those corners, so it'll be a little safer, because it's not safe now.
now, are they, someone still parking there
Yeah,
now
on
that
the-
they
during the church.
realize that it's permit parking and they told them they couldn't? Are they parking there still?
Right now.
On the
no,
curve return?
since-
But now they've moved to your street? Is that what you're
They can
saying?
move to our street too. The church, the problem is, the church might have small parking, so they have to take all the parking.
Yeah.
The church is too small for them. So all the parking goes to our street too, and I'm sure they go to the next street. But it makes it very difficult for us to leave too, when they have a church, like I said, on the corner of our street, Florence and Mullender. Because it's the corner, so they park all in the corner now, and it's very difficult for us to see. So that's an accident waiting to happen. So we have to be very careful how we exit now, our block, because it's close.
Right, yeah, I have the picture there, yeah.
And the thing is, like I said, there's no consideration, very loud. A church is like you're in a concert sometimes. It's like, and I live pretty far down, but imagine the neighbors, the residents right there by the church.
Is it for me parking here?
No.
Should we?
No,
Oh.
we've done that, we
They
call
could.
it, they say, no, it's the city of La Fuente. And that's where that church is,
Is that
city
it?
of La Fuente.
So I actually received I actually did receive a complaint Somebody that lived on Molinder, I spoke to them over the phone, and I went out there to look at it myself. There was no cars there, but I heard that the main issue is Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday nights.
Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays.
Yes, so I went and spoke to the church last week and told them if you guys are handing out parking permits, you cannot do that. It has to be through the city, through the building and planning.
That's true, because I had somebody, I spoke to him, very nice, and he went out when he came to talk to me, he said, I'll have to miss the building.
Right.
And he goes, you go to the city and find out how you got it.
So the church didn't say that they're the ones that handed them out. I told them, well, if you know who's handing them out, you need to tell them to stop. Did it seem to get better this last week?
Yeah, the reason it got better is because your law enforcement did their job, they finally came, they parked, 2 cars were parked watching them.
Okay.
So, and he lives right across the street. And look how you know about it, but I'm not in this too. And the parking, I don't know, we have to see it every, like I said, every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday.
Right, but, so our I don't think our code enforcement would be able to probably do any.
No, La Puente has code enforcement.
Right.
But they're on Francisquito. West Covina is Mullender.
Yeah, you're talking about the church, right?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
talking,
but we,
you at the church, they're making
the
noise.
church itself, yes.
Sheriff's Department, see, La Puente, this
Yeah.
church is La Puente.
Yeah,
The street is West
Code enforcement,
Covina.
is they're violating like noise
Oh,
ordinance
yeah.
or
It would
anything?
be, we call our code enforcement here. wasn't it?
No, it would be La Puente's
La
code
Puente, yeah.
enforcement.
Yeah, that, we did that too, and I don't
Sheriff,
think
because our sheriff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but code enforcement and police are 2 different things. So code enforcement, if they're violating like a noise issue or something, and it's consistent, they can address it. If it's like Friday night and they're being loud, yeah, that would be the police department.
That'd be the sheriff's.
It's our sheriff, yeah.
Department, that sheriff, the one thing.
that's our issue right there. And a lot of residents there are not happy with all the cars, because now we have to see them coming in through our cul-de-sac, if they're looking for parking, there's no more parking. So a lot of cars are coming in that street now.
The church is here, by the way. just
Oh.
so you guys know.
Okay. We can hear from the
Yeah.
church itself too.
All right, we appreciate it. Oh, do you want, I'm gonna go on to the next. Ramon? Okay, yep, see, you knew, you felt it. Okay,
My name is Ramon, and I live just across I live on 1336 South Molinder, and just exactly right in front of the church. Okay. I got a complaint about the church. It's my first time I'm being here at a meeting like this. So, I'm gonna try my best, and I'm gonna hopefully you understand, but I understand. That church, for me, is not a church. It's open from 6 o'clock in the morning, making noise, car coming in, coming out, until 12. Until 12, coming trucks and buses, sometimes a lot of kids, women, and open the gates, and I have to look up from my window. I don't have to see that. When I bought the house 15 years ago, I was nice in peace. Peace. I bought my house because I want my kids, my grandkids to play baseball, and I used to be coaching. I played basketball with my kids, always, my grandkids. They're growing, they're 13, 14 years old. Now with the church in front of my house, I can play nothing. They're crossing people from the street, they're not respecting the parking in front of my house. They don't, can't talk to them. Really, I don't want them, I'm afraid. I got pressure on me. I'm not 25 years old, man. I'm 72 years old, man. And I feel the pressure. I want my grandkids with me at my house, when my wife cooks something nice for the family. But we can. We can park outside, we can bring them inside, they play outside. There's a lot of people on the street crossing from one side to another. Very busy, that street. Monitors, very busy. Day and night. I'm telling the truth. Telling the truth, I don't have to see the faces. I know those 2 guys. I don't know who they are, what they do, whatever, but they belong to the church. And Now I called in every town police, the police, it wasn't show up. I said, what the heck, you know, what I can do now? Who's gonna stop the people? Who's gonna put the rules or what I can do? Now I have to be here in the meeting. Hopefully this works for me, for my family, and for the rest of the people, because I've talked to the rest of the people around. I've been talking to everybody complaining. Everybody around, right behind the church, on the other side, across the street, my house. I got 4 windows right in front of the church. I see who's coming, who's in, who's out. And they look at me too. I'm not afraid of that. I want to know that I need a respect. I mean, they don't respect the sign, they don't respect the mask. When it was 8 months ago, they were there. 8 months ago. 1 year ago, it was nice and peace up there. We called the city, we called you guys to put a sign on. Because there are a lot of people selling drugs up there, people in motorhomes, and working from the waiting, people coming to beat the trucks and cars up there. Now it's different, more personal than me. The people selling, putting the cars and walking to the back and forth, there. I said, what the heck is this? What's that? You know, I had to put my mind to work. Watching it. I'm watching faces. I told my wife, I just watching all the faces, what they do, what they don't. It's not my fault, it's their fault. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they open the gates, coming people in, putting packages into the cars, people crossing from one car to another. I said, what are they doing? I can sleep overnight. I can sleep. I'm tired of that. Hopefully you guys can understand and do something about it. I know they're gonna talk, I know they're gonna say something. They talk real nice, they're nice, polite people. But they're not with me. I can accept that. You can put things in my head. I know what I think, I know what I want. I got a lot of signs, not signs, but I got people that support me around the area. And hopefully nothing happened to me. Hopefully nothing happened in that area. I expected shooting, fights, or drugs. I'll find drugs cleaning my yard. I live right in the corner of Mullender and Florence. This is my house. And I feel like I make it or not make it, sell in the house or walk away or tell my kids, don't come over. Mother's Day, Halloween, can do nothing. I don't want confrontation from you.
All right, well, let's,
Don't call me father, I mean, if you, that thing, like that, not respect the mask, don't respect the sign. They walk in the streets, 4 cars walking the end of the street of Francis Street of Molinar, 2 times. I don't know what they think or what they do, what. I should fear on myself. They're not doing it wrong. They're not doing it right. They don't respect the law, they don't respect the math, they don't respect the sign, they don't respect people present in the neighborhood. I think it's a lot. I got a lot. Because I live in front of the church. Just because of that.
okay, great. Well, we appreciate you coming. Now we have all heard, and I think PD has gone out and looked at it as well. We know that Mullender has permit parking. So right now, the city is reevaluating permit parking because obviously some of the permits, we gotta make them stricter. So they're, so we're reevaluating that process. So I think the
Yeah.
churches here will hear what
Ezra?
they have to say, but hopefully we can come to,
Yeah.
so we can all live harmoniously.
In a positive way, yeah.
And then, yes.
Like I said, I got my permit for.
Oh, absolutely.
Parking outside.
Okay.
Free or two, that's all I want. The rest I can care to get up. The rest of the area, but I prefer to.
Okay, we got
We
that.
don't need no parking at all, nothing like that.
All right.
We asking for nothing.
Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you.
Okay, well, my name's Ezra, and I'm the pastor there at the Victory Outreach. We've been there for about a little over a year. We were renting there for the first year, and we're the new owners now. We just purchased the church. up until that point, we were just, when we first moved in, there was no sign in front of the church. It was just at the edge of our, at the edge where the church started. So that's where we parked at first, and then a few months into there, a sign went up right in front of our church. And so, to be honest, you know, it was a little bit patchy. Sometimes we were parking there, people were, when we weren't. When the officers started coming, that's when we realized, okay, this is, we can't, you know, we're gonna have to get strict on our people. And we have security out there. I'm sure they can testify to this. Every single service, which is Wednesday night and Sunday mornings, we have our security with the vest. We make sure the street is, that people are where they need to be. There's no trash. We watch all the houses. Our church it's active, it's alive. I do know he lives directly across from us, and I'm even conscious of him because he's like right across the street. And so, we try to keep it quiet at a certain time. And we do what we can, but we're a church as well. It happens to be a church where there's houses around us. We're trying to do our part. I just wrote down a couple of things. We purchased the church, and it happens to be right on the border of West Covina. Like, if you go out our front gate, you're in La Puente. You go out Molinder, you're in West Covina. We're like, the corner signs say West Covina. So it's kind of like that mixed place. We're right there in the middle. And the reason that I'm here, I didn't know our neighbors were going to be here, but recently I talked to one of the most influential neighbors right there. And he told us, and I told him that we bought the building. And I said, hey, we bought the building. And for many years, that church has been like 5 members, very quiet. So I get it that they're like, oh, wow, now it's like, you know, all this is going on. And I told him about the building. He says, oh, congratulations. And I says, hey, we just want to be good neighbors. We're trying to do the best we can. And he said, you know what? That's okay. We see you guys are doing good. Look at, make these passes, and now we know it's the church. And then obviously that was a bad idea. And so that was we did that one weekend, threw those in the trash. We're just trying to see what we can do. And that's why I'm here today, to see if, is there any way we could work together. Molinder is our main entrance. Francisquito, there's 1 gate. Molinder, there's 2 gates. So, and it's goes right into where all of our offices, and that's why it seems like we're there all the time, because we are. Our offices are there, we have a lot going on. We're there Monday through Friday during the day, there's certain meetings going on. But the days that it's full and it's church days are Wednesday night and Sunday morning. And so I'm asking if there's any way that we can just make an exception on Wednesday night and Sundays where we can only park in front of our church. We won't park in front of no houses, just that way, just in front of the church, only on church days. If there's new signage that would be needed, we'd be willing to pay for that. We want to work together. I mean, I also wanted to say that I'm aware that shortly before we moved in, that the neighbors got together because I was told that there was people overnight parking, putting RVs, doing drugs. It was just a shady street, I think, because of the apartment building that's right around the corner. Now, since then, that street, there's absolutely no one parks on that street, ever. I think my friend here across the street, he's the only one who has his car there. And I have videos of different times, different days of the week, the street is totally empty. And so, I think that problem has been resolved. I stand with them on that. I don't want overnight parking, I don't want graffiti, I don't want any of that on our street, and that's why we have security out there. I think we do a pretty good job. So if we were to park there only on service days, it would still support everything they initially needed when they first made that request, and it would also just open up in front of our church so we could have a little extra parking on the church days. I also wanted to mention that, you know, like I said, we provide security, we make sure that it's clean before and after. Molinder is our entry point. And we have, when we first moved in, of course, we like send cookies to everybody. Everybody has our phone number, we try to be accessible. I know my friend has issues with, I still wave at them, I don't get a wave back, but it is what, I can understand why they're upset, I get it. But I also feel like if there's a way we could work together, it'd be awesome. And that's what I'm trying to say.
What are the hours for Wednesday and Sunday?
Wednesday night it's at 7 o'clock.
PM to what?
7 to 9
7 to 9 PM only?
only.
And what is Sunday?
Sundays, we start at 9
AM?
9 a.m. is our first service. Then we have a second service at 11, and the services are usually done by like 1 o'clock.
And you don't have a PM service on Sunday?
We have prayer, but it's very small. Our parking lot accommodates it.
And how many on-site parking spaces do you
I believe we
have?
46 spots.
Are they all usable?
Yeah, there's a couple handicaps, yeah, they're only.
Now, do you, when you have your services, is all the on-site parking full?
On those services, the
Uh-huh.
Wednesday and the Sunday, yes.
Yes. So I'm saying that's when you have overflow.
That's the only.
But I
time we
mean,
have-
you are on-site parking is full.
Oh, we
because-
use every spot we can. We're like,
Yeah.
we try to.
What's the approximate number of attendees
I would say about 150, somewhere like. right
per
around-
service?
Per service, yeah. More or less. The church has pews, it's been there for forever. I mean, it's an old church, it was an old Baptist church. And that's another reason, yeah, I wanna work together. We gave our phone number out, but I know it's difficult. Like, if you live by a bus station, if you live by a, school, you get a bell, the kids are walking by. We try to do what we can. After like 9:30, we start trying to tell everybody, keep it down. By 10 o'clock, we try to make sure everybody's out. But we can't control every single person.
So do your people park on Francisquito as well?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Wherever there's open spots.
So the issue is they're not parking on because of permit parking.
That's the issue. And like I said, there was a lot of months recently, we just parked there again because one of the neighbors said, oh, you guys are good. This is why we did it, and you guys are okay. They know we're only gonna park there during the service times, but I don't wanna do anything that's, not right. But at the same time, I wanna try to accommodate our church, which half the churches coming from West Covina, half come from La Puente, and some come all the way from Azusa.
Do you have any comments, or do we have any more?
I mean, I think is there, oh, yes.
The thing is, it's not just two, it's all day to the night. It's not for the same, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and it ends at 3. It's not like that. It's all the way to the nighttime. And they don't keep it down, it's loud. So, what was it, the other couple of weeks ago, did you guys not get a competition with your neighbor right next to you guys because of the noise where you had kids playing?
Are you asking?
Yeah, well, didn't you guys have a competition with the City of Mac, did you guys provide noise?
I think so.
So, how are you keeping it down?
Well, yeah, because he said he wakes up 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
and,
That's the issue, it's parking all night.
No, he goes to work at 4 in the morning. The man goes.
But he has to see.
Because we're not
with
known.
us.
So
We
we're
can't
right.
see.
We're pretty much
Burning,
just
go to
traffic,
Burning.
so.
There's gonna be parking enforcement.
Just, now, we are traffic advisory, so we can look at parking. The noise is a different code enforcement and stuff, so I realize it's an issue. So, this is our dilemma, is that the neighbors City of West Covina has a permit parking process. So at the time that they requested the permit parking, a postcard was sent to all those neighbors, and it had to be majority rules. They got permit parking. So in order for us to change any of that, we would have to go back to the residents and ask them about permit parking, because it's West Covina Street. So we can't just arbitrarily take away the permit parking. So, I mean, I don't know if you could get together with some of the residents and they can hear what your proposal is or what, or, so we would have to reconsider or at least take a look at it. But basically, it's the majority of the residents on Mullender have to vote to say you can park maybe those specific days. Wednesday, if you're petitioning for a specific day, we could send a postcard out from Wednesdays. They could 7 to 9 p.m., Sunday 9 to 2 or 3, and that's it.
Yeah, that's
I
what we're
mean,
asking.
But,
And only in front of the church.
and
I-
only on the side that's the frontage of the church, nowhere else.
Right.
But I mean, that would be up to the residents.
Okay,
So,
of course,
because
I
it was,
understand. I understand why they did it. I even understand how the inconvenience, we're trying to make it less inconvenient, but we don't wanna hinder our freedom as a church to gather and worship as well. My question is, how far down Mullender, because even the one, we have neighbors, just as many that are for us, and they would tell us, hey, I don't know why they're giving you a hard time, we're okay with, so I'm just wondering, how far down Mullender would it go?
It's the whole thing, I think.
it was Mullender to, yes, that, whatever that street is there.
Should be that
Michelle.
whole stretch of Mullender from Michelle to Fran.
And then
Yeah.
right now Florence doesn't have permit parking.
Lawrence doesn't,
No, Florence.
So, you know, I would like to kind of pose a question to the residents is the,
The thing is, we were gonna try to get
Per-
parking signs too, but at that time, what was the point if they had permits? That means they could park on our street too.
Well, they didn't have the permits,
They-
so
yeah.
that's off the table now because
Now.
they
Yeah.
have talked to them and they're
Right.
realize that, so it shouldn't be
Yeah.
that issue now. So now the issue is whether, you know, do we want to send the postcard to Mullender and, I mean, you're
And
at their
Florence,
mercy,
yeah.
so.
yeah.
So maybe you would be best for you guys to talk to the residents and get a feel that they're gonna say no. I mean, the residents have that right to say, no, we want, sorry,
Yeah.
we voted for it, you know?
For sure.
So at that time, so we, you know, we, like I said, it was something that it's on the, you know, municipal code that they vote, so.
Of course, yeah.
So
I
it'd be
think-
between you and the property owners and
Yeah.
Wallander. The city, we can react, we can respond if the residents come back to the city and say, hey, you know what, we wanna amend or adjust the permit parking.
It is
But at this
already.
time,
but it's not.
there's nothing that we can
And
do.
so I need a majority, right?
Janet, he needs a majority.
Yeah, you'd need 51%.
Okay. That's what I'm hoping. I think the 51% is there. If it's not, of course, hey,
And I would
whatever
yeah.
the rule is, that's
Right,
the rule.
and I would suggest that it's only for specific times, not all the time, so that these gentlemen who are saying this noise is all the time, it's only specific time, and then if you don't get that specific time, that it's, you know, your people have to park on site,
Of course.
you know? Yes, sir.
They talk real nice. That's for sure. They're gonna go into the houses, you know, if you some cases or sodas or the owners are gonna invite you to service. They're gonna try to get the sign. Or they wanna sign for other people that not even know. You gotta be careful with it.
Well, we do have a process now that
Yes.
we send it to the owner, they send it back, and then we also have cadets go and reconfirm who voted for it.
Normally, the pastor, indeed, the church, is a mess. People coming in, out, and tools, boxes, stuff. You take to look at it. I said, my wife said, get out of the window. I can't. And, they're not respecting, even if you give it a permit, they wanna park everywhere, no control. There's no control. I had to get out of my house and they go park over here. This is not even free. Wow. I just telling you, don't have to have to leave this, we need a permit, see the sign up there. So I have to tell them, see the sign? No parking, anytime.
Yeah, well, that was one of our
They don't-
permit
they
parking
park, they
things.
park, they park. Okay, one guy coming out,
We're gonna be
One
more
hour later.
stricter on how we give permit parking, so if whatever happens with this and any other permit parking that's going on, is where the city is looking into designing a new parking permit that may be per the exact car, that you have to register your license, so then when they go out to look at it, they can see which cars are registered. So even if they have something that looks like a permit, they can check, and then, oh, it's not on my list, ticket. So, you know, every system you have to sometimes upgrade and go with the flow, see what works better. So we are looking into that. So I guess today, we want to decide if we'll vote to see if, we'll take it back, look at it, see if we want to reissue a postcard to you guys. And the church can give us the exact hours, and then you guys vote on it, and we'll go from there. And I would think it would only be the frontage of the church itself. That would only be,
Yeah,
right there. It's
Up to
like,
Florence, basically.
right, up to Florence, right
Would you
there
guys
to
okay
there.
with that? Would you park in front of the church only? No?
And about the corners, see, that's the corners I'm talking about?
Yes.
Right there, Florence,
Yes.
is there some way you could?
Yeah, we could do that.
Because, like I say, we're coming out, it's very hard for us to see oncoming traffic.
Now, are they parking on
On the
Florence?
corner.
So then maybe Florence needs to have permit parking. I'm just saying if that's an
And that's
issue.
what we thought we were gonna do, but when we saw they had permits,
Well,
it
that's,
would be the point.
no. Well, see, that issue hopefully we put to rest, but now we're
Yeah.
going forward here. So if it's permit parking, then we wouldn't need the red. So it's all, you know. So if you want, and your neighbors want to apply for the permit parking on Florence, so they don't start parking there, then you can contact our engineering, Brian. You have our email, and we can look into that process for you. So tonight, I think we need to decide if we're gonna ask the neighbors for parking in front of the church frontage. In that case, if we do, then it would be, I'm thinking Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m., and then Sunday, 9 a.m. to like 3 p.m.
I have a question, ma'am.
Yes.
If, since our gates are our entry point, our main entry point is on
Yes.
Walter, and we're owners there, do we get permits to park also on the street?
No, because it's only residents. So basically, the permit parking is in place so that people who are not residents don't take all the parking. And basically, your CUP, when you got your CUP from La Puente, you should be, they ask you, can you park on site? So it's great that you're growing, it's just, when you do your CUP, you have to be able to park your constituents or your members on site. But good thing, you're growing, it's always good for churches to grow, it's just now we have to see how we can coexist with our neighbors.
Right, that's what we want.
Yeah.
Okay,
Another option that Paulina brought up too was potentially leaving it to the residents to do the request to us
Yes.
to evaluate. So instead of us initiating it, we would wait for the residents to initiate what the request is and go from there.
so if you want to discuss with the neighbors that live on Mullender, and if someone is in favor of that, if they can send us a request that we can re-review, then we can resend it out. So it would have to be a request of a West Covina resident, okay?
And what would that request be?
What,
To allow them to park there? And if we don't say we don't want them to park there? we
Well,
request
then,
it again?
that's only their request to have us look at it.
Okay.
And then, as the same process as before, we would send a postcard to each house that lives on Mullender, or,
Florence,
You
or
know, we
whatever,
can- yeah.
where is the
Wherever-
request?
you know, the request is, and then they would send it back, and it's a secret vote, so, you know, you say, yes, I'm in favor, no, I'm not. And then on the postcard, if we get that request from the resident that they want us to look at it again, we would put the time and the location, so that you would be aware of that. And then as soon as we would get, you know, all the postcards back, we check where they all came from, make sure they were the ones that requested or didn't request, and then we bring it back to Traffic Commission. let's just say, or if it's a no, then we would probably just inform everyone it was a no. If it was a positive, that yes, neighbors are now for it, that you can allow parking on the side, then we'd bring it back to traffic commission. And then you would have another chance, all of you, to discuss it. And then we would vote for a recommendation of something, and then it would go to council. Council basically is the final authority. So we just give to them, you know, our research data, and they make the final vote. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
What do we can do with the noise?
That,
Probably you'd have to go through the sheriff's department, talk to their code enforcement, and, they could issue citations or whatever according to their ordinances. That's unfortunately not a West Covina PD thing, that's a sheriff's department thing.
okay, so I guess our, is for them
Yes.
to.
Yeah, so
bring it
I
to
guess
us.
there's no formal vote, it's more, this was an item not on the agenda, so
Yeah.
it will really be up to, you know, the church and the residents to hopefully work together, and the residents to submit a request to us to evaluate. And
That's it.
any other items, non-agenda? Good. Well, I officially close the meeting. Help yourself
Yeah,
to
have
some
a goodie.
donuts, you know, I know it,
No, I just wonder, it's supposed to be bring more people to us. There would,
yeah.
that hour is,
This will be posted on YouTube, on the city's YouTube page, probably by early next week. Usually takes about a week, so it's public. You'll see yourselves on TV.
Hopefully not just us, but.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, help yourself to a goodie.
yeah.
Have
The
a
city
glass of
is